Hey everybody, I'm Tommy Habib. Let's talk about the business of food. And I love to eat, I love to cook, and I love to dine out. Just think about it. To create from just a few things in your fridge a piece of edible art. Un dies apodesa de arts. It's a beautiful thing. Truly, one of my hidden dreams is to be a chef. I remember growing up when Burger Chef, a new hamburger joint concept, came to town. I think I was 10 years old. The hamburgers were only 15 cents. They were so good. I don't really remember why. Just that taste and the smell, I'll never forget. It's hard to even imagine that today. We had not even seen a fast food restaurant like this in Corpus Christi, Texas. But now it's all different. The point I'm trying to make is I guess I have to take out a mortgage just to get my next hamburger. When did ordering a meal deal become a luxury expense? My fast food receipt has more digits than my bank balance. Now I could do this all day with you if it wasn't such a serious matter. So for the past 4 years, at least twice a week, I just go right outside my office. There's a great little restaurant I go to. I get the blackened chicken with sourdough toast. It's only $6.95, greatest deal ever. Well, for the past 2 years, I've watched this price literally double. Now I'm paying $12. I can afford it, but I just don't like it. Let me explain it this way. We're seeing this across the country. In the past 2 years, it's affecting restaurants and their customers. In 2024, restaurants are facing significant challenges. Number one, rising costs. So why? This is due to inflation and supply chain disruptions. These rising costs affect menu prices and profit margins. Restaurants have to find innovative ways to manage expenses, maintain quality control, all while trying to maintain a great customer service. The huge challenges are everything is too expensive, and people are just not going out as much. This creates a problem for restaurants and their staff, which creates staffing shortages. Look, qualified staff is a critical issue for many restaurants. I guess the real question is, if you're in the food industry, these are tough times. How do you stay in business? So my guest today, he's going to help us answer these questions. He's the co-founder of over 65 restaurants all over the world, including the brand Texas de Brazil, Salim Asrawi. You started with one store and you took it global. Now, how in the world do you do that?
I have to say, I'm very fortunate. I'm very blessed. Any business, you need hard work, determinations. You shouldn't be afraid to fail if you want to succeed. And also, you need to have some luck. You need to surround yourself by amazing people that have the same vision as you. In the restaurant business is now rocket science, so our vision is really hard work, honesty, determination. Not be afraid to roll up your sleeves, pick up the dishes. The dishwasher didn't show up, go wash dishes, mop the floor, wait on tables. So, when we opened the first Texas de Brazil, October 1998, that was 26 years ago in Addison. Some of you that don't know Addison, that's a suburb of Dallas. And just opened the first one. I mean, it was challenging. It was very, very difficult.
Well, let me ask you a quick question here, because you talked about a couple important things. Work hard, be willing to do it all. There's a lot of people that work hard, and they're not scared to do that. And they put their entire investment, their savings on the line, and they go roll the dice and open a restaurant, and then it fails.
You have to have some things working with you. I think location is important. I think, a lot of people fail in the beginning. There's poor planning, right? I mean, nothing is 100%. But when you open up a restaurant and the day that you open, you're out of money. That's not a good sign, right? You need to have a little bit of money to advertise and promote. You need to have a little bit of money to meet your payroll, because there's no guarantee that the day you open, people are gonna come and you're gonna make a profit. It's gonna be very turbulent. I'm optimistic. The first 6 months, it can take a year.
Let's go back even a little further. So you went to college and you studied
the
industry.
My dad, I was born in Lebanon. My dad in Lebanon had a restaurant, so that's where it piqued my interest, in it. I came to this great country in 81, ninth grade, and I was never good in math or science or chemistry. I love people. I love to be around people. I'm a little impatient. I can't sit still. So I guess the restaurant business is great for me. So I did high school, college, graduate school, studied restaurant hotel management. After that, went to California and worked for a great hotel company, learned a lot. Then I decided to come back to Dallas and open up a restaurant. And at the time, it was a tapas restaurant, Spanish restaurant. It wasn't until my competitor opened before me a year prior, and I went and got to see it, and I'm like, wow. The all-you-can-eat is something that we Americans are accustomed to. Sunday brunch at a hotel where I kind of worked at. Sunday brunch was huge.
And we love that.
Wow.
We want to be able to just see all this
huge.
food.
The carving station, all this food. So when I saw that Americans were loving the all-you-can-eat meat, at the time, my grandfather, God bless him, he passed. My uncle inherited money, and just a little money, I think 250, 300,000. And I love my uncle because he always thinks big. And my uncle, if he thinks that we have an opportunity to do something, he put in all the money, right? So I'm very grateful for him. If it wasn't for his 300,000 and for partnering with me, I would not be here today, right? And then my mom came along. She's a CPA by trade. So she came and took care of the books and the payables. And so it was a perfect combination. And that's how it got started. So basically,
wow.
300,000.
You kept it in the family.
We kept it in the family. We maxed out our credit card. I think back in 98, I had a few credit cards. My maximum credit, I think one credit card, 5,000, another one, 2,000. So they were all maxed. Landlord didn't give you any money. And it's funny, our current landlord is my buddy, and he's a member at Dallas National where I play golf. He would never sell me the building, by the way.
Oh, really?
And I always say, Craig, please, let's have a match. Let's do something. What do I need to do to buy it, right? And banks don't lend you any money because you're just starting. What am I going to give them in return for a loan? The tables and chairs, right? Good luck.
So a lot of people, when they build a restaurant, they go in with the greatest intentions, but do they just all of a sudden get carried away and spend all their money too early? So
we're all different. Everybody is different, and some get carried away and spend it all, right? At the end of the day, this is a business. This is not you're remodeling a room in your home and it's personal to you. You want this certain color, this certain finish, etc. So when you open up a business, obviously you want to spend a little money to make money, but you don't really need this particular tile that costs, I'm just going to throw a number, $50 a foot, when you can get something for $10, right? Mm-hmm. You don't need stainless steel when you can have FRP. It's just something that you put on the wall. There's certain things that you can save because that money is going to be needed.
Now, did you feel added pressure because you had your uncle? It sounds like he put everything into this restaurant.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's pressure, right? There is pressure to succeed, and also there's responsibility. When you hire people to work with you, mm-hmm. You're responsible. You're responsible for their well-being. You want them to succeed. You want to succeed so they can succeed, right? You want the place to be busy. You want to give your staff an opportunity to make money. So there was a lot of pressure, especially when you're young, right, to have that added pressure on you. But I'm very fortunate. I mean, look, the concept is amazing. The churrascaria, all you can eat, meats and salad. The location, at the time when we opened 1998, the economy was great. I think NASDAQ, that was when NASDAQ hit 1,000. I want to say, this is when the dot-com millionaires came along. It was hard finding staff. It was hard, any business, right? It was very challenging. And the location that our broker found was literally a mile from our competitor. I didn't want it that way. Wow. He just basically said, look, that's it. This is a corner spot. Take it or leave it. Then people would come in when we opened. Hey, you're the copycat. Why did you open this when your competitor is there? I'm like, why are you here?
Really?
And there's so many Mexican restaurants. There's so many Italian restaurants. How come we cannot have another Brazilian restaurant, right? Things were aligned. Opened the first one in 98, the second one 99, and then 2000, and then just kept on opening and opening.
All right, so we're talking 1 year.
Yeah.
So things must have been really good that first year to roll the dice again and go, okay, we're going to...
I think, the first year things were good. They were not great, right? But there was momentum. Mm-hmm. There was momentum, there was excitement, and most of all, there were opportunities.
Because when you look at so many restaurateurs at the mom and pops, what does it take to make that jump to store 2, store 3?
There's a lot of mom and pops that are content of just having 1 or 2 stores. Mm-hmm. And I think, how do you define content? I think, they're happy with the money they make. They don't want added responsibilities. And also, this is what they think that they can do, right? Not everybody is an entrepreneur. Not everybody is willing to take chances. I'm not better than anybody, right? We're just all built different, right? I have a lot of respect for the mom and pop. They run great restaurants. They have great food. They employ and provide jobs. So we're all built different, right? I mean, I didn't open the first one and said, I want to open 100. I was just focused on the first. And when an opportunity came for the second, I also think my uncle pushed me. I mean, it takes 2 to tango, right?
Right.
So he kind of pushed me as well, said, we need to do 2. Let's just do it, right? Okay,
I love
make it happen, right? And it happened.
The time that you went from school over to work for a bigger company, a hotel chain, is that what it was?
Yes, it was the Ritz-Carlton in Maria del Rey.
Well, you can't do much better than that.
Yeah.
Did you think that helped you to know that you wanted to grow a brand, or did it just help you solidify on how to, actually operate?
Both. I think there's I learn new things every day. I mean, I will not sit here and say I know or learn it all. Gosh.
Not what you told me on the golf course.
And yeah, I wish. No, whatever business you're in, there's always an opportunity to learn. Plus, there's technology that come in, and customers change. You have millennials, you have just different people. If you want to succeed, you have to adapt. But there's no substitute for training. I was very fortunate when I came out of college, when I got my master's degree. I was young. I wanted to go to California. I mean, who doesn't want to go to California? But look, everybody from Texas that wants to go to California will come back to Texas. Yeah. Texas is a great state. So I wanted to go to California. I had a master's degree in restaurant hotel management and called the HR. They said, look, we don't have any management position open for you. We have a waiter in room service. Would you take it? I'm in. Right? An hourly position.
Sure.
Went to California, drove to California, and not only a waiter in room service, I had the graveyard shift. We don't call that graveyard these days. We say overnight shift, right? Or the late shift. So I did that. I still have my first dollar tip.
That's impressive, I got to tell you, because you're coming out of college with a master's. You're going, all right, I'm ready to run the world.
Yes.
but the reality was.
You have to be humbled. And I'm so glad I started at the bottom of my industry, right? In 6 months, I became assistant manager, then I became room service manager. I became executive steward, responsible for all the dishes, the cleanliness, providing plates when we had weddings, when we had banquets. I did a little bit of beverage. So by the time I left in 3 years, I had a good base. I had good training, right? And so that's kind of how it started.
Now, do you suggest that for, say, a young person that wants to, or an old person, doesn't matter, but wants to get into the industry, go and work for somebody else and get a foundation?
I would recommend that. Foundation is very important. Hearing about it, dining somewhere and say, wow, this looks exciting. I want to be a waiter. I want to be a manager. Work, see how it is. You might not like it. Look, a lot of us work, obviously, for the paycheck. We need money. We need to support our family. And some of us do it for work and because we're passionate, right? Mm-hmm. But the restaurant business, a lot of people think it's glamorous. It's like Cheers, right? It's tough. I think if you care enough about what you do, there's always a danger because things don't last forever. At least I don't think like that. Just because you're doing something and things are great today, there is no guarantee that it's going to be great tomorrow, right? And I've been saying that for the past 26 years, right? But you got to have this mentality because you can't just fall asleep, close your eyes, right? You cannot look at the P&L, at the balance sheet and say, wow, this is amazing, right? I think part of success, you have to be honest with yourself, right? You have to understand what are the strengths and weaknesses of your business, and you have to act on it just like anything you do, right?
I'm looking at you and already doing this. Thank God you had the vision, because how many people do you employ today?
I want to say over 5,000.
Oh my gosh. So that alone, I feel this pressure on my shoulders just hearing that for you. I'm going, the vision it took, you did one store, and now, as you talked about employees and how important it is and the responsibility, you were responsible for over 5,000 families. And that's an amazing feat. That's up there with the great entrepreneurs of all time that create opportunity, and to be able to see that, to build 65 stores. Give me some of the most exciting ones that you've opened that were, I don't know, I think Hollywood, so that had glitz and glamour like, some of the places around the world.
So my uncle just loved bright colors. There's a lot of red in the restaurants. There's floral arrangements, silk flowers that people think they're real, that are just beautiful. Mm-hmm. Artwork. I want to say the Hollywood, the exciting is the first one, right? It'll always be very special.
Yes.
But for example, take the Dolphin Mall.
Where's that?
It's in Doral, Miami.
Oh, yes.
The store is round, right? I want to say when my uncle walked into the store, I'm walking, I'm like, how the heck we are going to do this? And he's like, I want this. This is beautiful, right?
So it was empty but round.
Round, 2 floors round. I mean, it's spectacular, right?
Yes.
Our Fort Worth location, it was Lusky's Western wear. So they sold, boots and hats and belts. The floor upstairs is over 100 years old. That I don't want to make people scared. It's the hardwood floors.
Yeah, right.
Not
of
the
course.
floor, right? But I want to say, like, as we open, our stores are not cookie cutters. So it's not like the Palm restaurant. It's not like other chains where you walk in and it's the exact same thing from city to city, mm-hmm. right? Ours, the square footage is different. the bar is different, the entrance is different. Yes, it's the same feel, but it is different. And it worked out this way. So for example, every year that comes along, there's different finish out, right? There's different materials. We travel, we go to a different country, we see a different design where we bring it in, where all of a sudden you have metal hanging over the salad area, right? You have a new bar design. So they're all different, they're all special.
And that has to be fun too.
It's a lot of fun because look, part of a restaurant business, I mean, obviously you got to have good food, you got to have great service, but it's also about the experience. You don't want to go into a boring place. You want it to be vibrant, right? You want to have some nice colors, visual. You want somebody, to look around, to see things, etc. If you don't want that, you can sit at home and eat. There's nothing wrong with that. You can order takeout, which has
Sure.
become popular, delivery. There's even companies that deliver food where you can cook in 15, 20 minutes. So there's all kind of things that you can do. But most restaurants, that are opening, especially in Dallas, I mean, they're spending a lot of money. My friend restaurant, $20 million, Nuri Steakhouse. It is beautiful, beautiful place, right? The Mexican at the time, I want to say, was one of the most expensive ones. 12 millions they spent.
No, but how do you even overcome that when you're that deep into?
Yeah, I mean, look, that's up to them to put the numbers together and say, I can spend whatever I want. How am I going to make that money?
Sometimes it doesn't mean anything.
Right. Sometimes
They
you
just
they want to do it, and look, and the customer benefits, because we have these choices, right? So next time you go eat, yes, of course, the food, but look around, pay attention to the details, to the beauty, a lot of great interior decorators, and also visions of the owners of the restaurant groups that want to showcase this or that, or whatever. And look, Dallas, we have a lot of restaurants.
We do.
I'm very fortunate. I'm part of a restaurant group. There's about 50 of us. We meet once a month on Tuesday for lunch, once in a blue moon when one of our restaurants is not open for lunch. We go to dinner. And we sit and we talk. We have a great lunch. Restaurateurs we're not enemies. We really love one another and care about another. Of course, we're competing for that almighty dollar, but we understand that our guests, they are not going to come to our restaurant every day, right?
Right.
They're going to come, they're going to go somewhere else, etc. So as leaders in the industry, we just want to make sure that we are producing quality. We have a great product for our guests, because I speak for them. We are very honored when customers come to us. I always tell my staff, I'm not giving you anything. It's our customers. We are here today because of them. If they don't come here and spend money, we don't have any money. So we're always, I mean, if you look at a lot of restaurants, they're always coming up with different menus. Drink menus are different, and it's all about the product. We want you to have a good experience when you come
What's
in.
so inspiring, because we produce broadcast television and huge commercial programs and marketing campaigns. And typical corporate America is, how can we rip the throats out of our competition? And it's so inspiring to hear you guys, this group, getting together and going collectively, we don't hate each other. Yes, we're fighting for the dollar, but we understand the landscape. And you said something very, very interesting when you said, well, you're not going to eat at the same restaurant every night.
Right.
But do you guys, because y'all probably swap ideas, you're learning things at these big outings, which is fantastic. I couldn't imagine a lot of corporate America going, yeah, let's just all get together and talk over our industry.
Right. I mean, look, staff is very important. Your staff has to be happy. I'm not saying happy, let them do what they want. There needs to be accountability, right? Any business that you do, it needs to be accountable.
Right.
But you need to provide them a good working environment, and we strive on it all the time. Nothing is perfect. We make mistakes, we learn from them, but the minute something is not right, we want to fix it right away. And I caution CEOs. Look, CEOs they're under a lot of pressure. They have a board. Some of them are public companies. There's a lot of private equity that owns a lot of restaurants. So, they want to make sure they squeeze to get, an extra dollar out of it. But what I want to caution is there's only so much you can squeeze. You cannot squeeze when employee morale is down. You cannot squeeze when now it's affecting food quality, right? One thing about people, it doesn't matter what is your background, educational, where you come from, etc. You cannot cheat somebody when it comes down to quality of the food. So there's a lot of companies that go and say, well, let me see if I can buy chicken at a better price. I'm the same, but I will never compromise quality. So a lot of them will compromise quality for 25 cents. And look, 25 cents, some companies, it can be millions, right? I want to save money, but when it's a less of a product, people will know, and before you know it, they will not come back. The other thing is, big companies, you gotta forget about the red tape and the bureaucracy. If you have a leak in your ceiling, you need to fix it, right? Mm-hmm. If your AC is not working, and look, these days, your AC is not working, waiting for the part. I mean, we've encountered that as well. But you got to make it happen. You got to take care of it, right? Or customers are not going to come back.
Yeah, and in 2024, over the last few years, we've been seeing such huge issues with supply chain disruptions. And when you lose customers because of quality or something like that, you're really affecting your staff as well.
Right.
So those waiters and waitresses, they that customer service piece is so important. What are you seeing today in 2024 that you didn't see pre-pandemic with the supply chain disruptions? Costs are going up. How do you keep your staff happy, and how do you keep these margins where they work?
So that's a good point, and a lot has changed. But I want to say America is resilient. People that are here are amazing, right? Our DNA is different. We all think alike and do different things. But business people, in us, the wait staff, just amazing, resilient people who have adapted, right? So yes, the supply chain is not what it is pre-pandemic, right? There are still days. I mean, our logistic company that we buy from is a public company. They're huge. They have issues with their drivers. Some of them are union. Some of them can only work certain days. If you call in sick, if you go on vacation, we have to, rent a truck and go and pick up our food sometimes. Sometimes food is not being delivered. I just ask customers to be a little patient. Nothing is done on purpose. Mm-hmm. We are doing our job. We are anticipating. Customers might say, order more. Our coolers have limited space, right? Because, for all these years, we can have a delivery every single day. And now all of a sudden someone says to us, I'm only going to deliver 2 days. That's all I can do, right? So we're not doing it on purpose. We want you to have that tomato, that lettuce, that onion. We don't want to run out of anything, right? And we make it happen. Sometimes we run out of rice. We're sending someone to Sam's or Costco or to the local supermarket to get it, right?
You just get it done.
You just got to make it happen, because customers might or might not understand, but I want you to have that dining experience, right? So logistics is not where it used to be. And also, I think our work ethic is not what it is. I think some are tired. Some are taking advantage of it, and also some employers are basically going along with that and saying, well, just work whenever you want, etc. I mean, I think we have to hold people accountable. We have to treat everyone differently. Look, some people have hardships, and some people cannot work what they used to work prior. Everybody's different, and you want to work with everyone, but at the end of the day, they need to work, right? And
Keep the doors open.
was it like before? No. But I want to say, look, work is hard, whatever work you have. If you want to advance and you want to make money, you got to put in the time. You got to work hard, and this is the time to do it, right? Costs have gone up, but I think what happened, everything went up, right? I mean, we have to pay our staff more money. The cost of doing business has gone up. So it's not just one thing that went up. I think everything went up at the same time. So it kind of regulated itself.
You look at the inflation across board, it's down, but everything stayed up. Will there ever be a change? Do you see that things will drop down to, will eggs become, instead of $5 back to $2?
I'm not an economist, and I think this inflation thing, I mean, look, I'm not good in math, but I think how we got here, and people can argue, but as a country, we just print and print. We keep printing money, and the more we print, the more inflation. Thank God the world currency is dollars. I mean, some countries have their own, right? But you can go, but the world currency is a dollar. And as long as the world currency is a dollar, right, I guess we can get away with printing so much. I think, look, once you pay someone $20 to wash dishes, once you pay certain amount for apples and eggs, it's not going to go down.
Jack's out of the box.
Right, it's out. You're not going to go backwards.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you back $1. I mean, staff is not going to, and it's not right to tell someone,
right.
Look, inflation is going down. I was paying you 20. I'm going to pay you 19. I'll never do that, to anyone. Hey, 20 is 20, and this is how it's going to be, moving forward.
Do you see a staffing issue with your group across the world, really, globally?
So that's a good question. It really depends where you are. I think we're good in Texas. We're good in Florida. California, believe it or not, is good. But we're in a lot of small towns. Small towns are great to do business in. But we have staffing issues. We have staffing issues in Syracuse, Rogers, Arkansas. We have staffing issues, right? So the rest of the world, we have stores in Dubai, we have stores in Korea, not as much. There are career wait staff there. And in our industry, it's very challenging because, our staff is young. So our staff is transitional, right? Mm-hmm. They're waiting tables while they're in college, or they want to move on to another job. And what happened during the pandemic is, the hospitality/restaurant industry, we've always literally, someone knocks on the door, we grabbed him, put him to work. My HR director is not going to be happy. We don't do that anymore. We have to fill the paperwork.
Of course.
All these things. But literally, the restaurant business, get your
need
foot
bodies.
in the door. Let me train you. Here, put on an apron, put on a vest, do it. So we've always done that. And we've trained people. We've taken the time to train people. I'm very proud at Texas de Brazil. We've had dishwashers. They're now executive chefs, servers that are regional directors, right? We've taken the time. Someone worked hard and wanted to do more. We've trained them and we do that. So what happened with other businesses?
They're full life careers.
Exactly. So other businesses frowned upon that. I mean, you can't walk into Apple or Microsoft, right, and start working right away. Yes. Or other companies.
Oh yeah.
So during the pandemic, right, and coming out of the pandemic, now all these businesses started thinking out of the box and saying, well, if you don't have experience in this sector, we're okay, because you know what? At the end of the day, unless you're a doctor or lawyer or you're flying a plane, right? As long as you have good character, you're willing to learn and work hard, all of a sudden these companies are like, wow, why didn't we think about it before? let's just get them. So a lot of people in our industry have made a career change. I mean, I want to say our ladies and gentlemen that work in our industry, they're warriors, right? Nights and weekends, holidays, when you're out celebrating New Year's, Valentine, Mother's Day, Father's Day, all these things, they're there working, busting their rear to provide that experience, right? So a lot of them have made a career change because there have been opportunities, and I support and respect them, and, they paid their time. But for everybody out there that wants to get into the business, look, it's very rewarding, it's not monotonous, it's great, there's room to improve, and you can really learn a lot, especially if you want to move on to bigger and better things.
Early on, you told me about your uncle, and as an investor and co-founder, your partner.
Yeah, my partner.
How exciting is it and how fun is it to be able to have that experience to go from one store to where you are today with him and watching this growth and
it's
and everybody's
it's amazing.
And your mom.
And my mom. What's amazing also is my cousins, my uncle's kids, are an integral part of the business. They're highly educated, they're younger, they bring in a lot of energy, and they're part of the company, and they're part of the growth, and they're very important. And a lot of people frown on family, the family. Look, my family is great. I love them. I'm so glad they're part of it, and everybody does his thing, and we respect one another, and we're all very proud of one another, our successes, and where we are today.
Yeah. Growing up in a family business, I get that, and I love that feel. And that's because so many kids go the other direction.
Right.
And don't get involved in a family business. And I think it shows in the culture, and I want to talk to you about the Texas de Brazil culture, because you have to have an amazingly strong culture. But I think it starts with our mom and dad, what we learned, right? How to treat people.
Right.
And that customer service is number one. Obviously, you have to have a good product or they won't come back.
Right.
Although some of these little cafes I go to, it's because the server's been servicing me for years and years. And I hate to tell them that chicken salad just doesn't taste like it used to.
Right. I mean, look, culture is, it starts with everybody. A dear friend that passed a few months ago, I was reading a little bit about him. He was a tech entrepreneur, very visionary. And they were interviewing him, and they said, if you're a betting man, would you bet on the horse or the jockey? And he said the jockey, right? Character is very important. How you handle yourself. I'm far from perfect, right? I'm very grateful. I'm humble. I learn from my mistake. If I'm wrong, after counting to 10, I will apologize to you. I have no problem with that. And I am not better than anybody at the restaurant. I am not better than the dishwasher. As a matter of fact, the dishwasher and I are equal. The only difference is our job responsibility. Without the dishwasher, how can we serve people? How can we wash dishes? Without someone prepping, without the server assistant that clears your plate, the carver, the bartender, the manager, the open door policy, right? If they cannot get an answer from their manager and the regional manager, they can talk to me, right? I am approachable. And this is our HR director. You call her, she is calling you back. Any issues, we talk about it. It might not be the answer that they want, but at least we're honest. And I think honesty, the way with our managers, we say to them, look, I need you to do this. I will do this. My word is my bond. So that's very, very important. And I encourage CEOs, look, they're very busy, and some of them run multi-billion-dollar companies with thousands of employees. But I want to ask them, when is the last time you talked to an hourly employee in your company? When is the last time you reach out to management, lower tier, entry level tier, etc.? When was the last time you asked them how they felt versus looking at a survey, right, to see if they're happy or not? Or maybe your board meeting, you felt this was sufficient, right? Sufficient. So it's not just about P&L. It's not about numbers. It's about people. People are your assets. People can make you or break you. And if you don't understand what they go through, right, things will not last forever.
Boom. You couldn't have finished this conversation any better, because I was going to ask you, what would you tell an up-and-coming CEO? But I think what you did is you've shown, not only in your work ethic and how you deal with employees and staff, why Texas de Brazil is so successful, and why you're so successful, and it's exciting for me. And so thank you very much for coming in and sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Tommy. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Of course. I want to tell you what gets me through life's challenges is my furry pup. I know I don't acknowledge him enough for what he does for me, but I try every day. If I could give you one tip, get a dog. If you already have a dog at home, you know the power of unconditional love and the way it can melt stress away. So when you get home and that little tail is a wagging, take a moment to gaze into his eyes, because that's how they know you care. Now, if you don't have a pup at home, you need to get one. They are the great equalizer of stress. So visit your local shelter, or if you need help, come to therescuetv.com or foreverfamilyrescue.org, and we can help pair you up with that perfect pup, no matter where in the country you are. So don't forget, adopt, don't shop.